Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. I'm Bill Hammond, and I actually paid to see this. I hope you and yours are celebrating as well as you can possibly do, whether you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, or good old-fashioned Saturnalia. Whatever you do it well. This is the season of giving, and I'm even wearing one of my gifts right now. My nephew sent me this cool t-shirt. I am a Funkle. If I ever get to have kids, I'll be a Funkle Pop, which means I can charge way too much for people to basically hold on to me for 5 seconds. Winning! Anyway, like I said, it's the season of giving, and I'm feeling so festive today that I decided, let's make a video where I can count down my 12 favorite Christmas movies of all time. Also, I'm bored. That's a really big part of it. I'm just kind of bored. These are movies that have either touched me, made me smile, made me laugh over the course of my life for one various reason or another, and they all have to do with Christmas, obviously. This is by no means a definitive list of quality. I guarantee you there are going to be movies on this list that you don't agree with, and you're going to be wondering, where the hell's my favorite movie? And don't worry about that. It's okay to be wrong. Hey, some of you still like Elf. I'm just saying. That's all in good fun. Anyway, so yeah. To have a little bit of fun, let's count down my favorite top 12 Christmas movies. Why 12? Well, we're skipping the song. Okay, so my top 12 favorite Christmas movies. And as you can see, I really went all out on the graphics this time. Oh yeah. Look. 1, I kind of did this on a whim. 2, I really don't have high-end equipment. And 3, it's a holiday, guys. Did you really expect me to put that much effort into this? Come on, it's my day off. But let's go down the list and see what we find, shall we? Let's get to it. Number 12. Batman Returns. Yeah, you're going to see pretty simply that I'm going to put a lot of movies on here that aren't necessarily like fully in the Christmas spirit, let's say. Apart from The Dark Knight, this is my favorite Batman movie. I love the way Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer play off each other. Danny DeVito was almost legitimately scary to 10-year-old me as the Penguin, especially like biting the noses and eating the raw fish and everything. And of course, Christopher Walken just being a complete slime ball of a villain. It just works so well. And of course, to integrate Christmas themes into this fully realized Tim Burton version of Gotham City, to me, it was a masterful touch. And it gave us a preview of what Tim Burton's mind looks like when it comes to the holiday season. Spoiler alert, we'll get to that in a second. Moving on, number 11. The Muppet Christmas Carol. 1992 was a good year for Christmas movies, apparently. You know, I had to definitely put a Christmas Carol version on here somewhere. I mean, I had to. The question was which one. I almost put Scrooged on here because I think Bill Murray really is the best version of Scrooge, a Scrooge-like character. But this has always been my favorite version of the whole overall story. I love the way Michael Caine just lives in this universe with Muppets like it's the completely normal thing. The integration of the classic characters in the story. I mean, they have Fozzie be Mr. Fozziewig instead of Mr. Fezziwig. It's very cutely done. And I will never not laugh at Rizzo and the Rats with their little Heatwave song after they're threatened with being fired for asking for more coal. So it's I don't know. It's just one of those silly adaptations of a well-worn story that just hits me the right way. Number 10. Holiday Inn, 1942. Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire. This is probably not on too many people's lists, but I love the old school musicals. I love the song and dance numbers. I like that it really takes place over an entire year with all of the holidays, but Christmas being the focal point. And if nothing else, this movie is responsible for one of the greatest Christmas songs of all time, Irving Berlin's White Christmas. They even made a movie about White Christmas later on. This is one of the most timeless holiday songs ever written, And it's tucked into this sweet little basic romance musical from the 40s. So there's a lot of stuff that can't happen without White Christmas, and this movie is responsible, so it always has a special place in my heart. Number 9. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I can already hear people screaming that how much this movie sucks, and they're not wrong. There's a lot of things that do not work in this movie. The rhyming narration from Anthony Hopkins, Taylor Momsen is a bit too saccharinely sweet, though thankfully she grows up to do the Pretty Reckless, which I absolutely love. The character designs on the Who's aren't all that great, and the mayor is just a dick, like a gaping, prolapsed anus of a dickhole. But the movie makes up for it in 3 main elements. 1, the absolutely insane production design. Like, if you're gonna stretch a half-hour cartoon into a 2-hour movie, these kind of sets are the way to do it. It feels like a fully lived-in world that's wacky and crazy enough for its setting. 2, Max is objectively adorable in every way, shape, and form. Everything he does, steals every scene. Even when, we have some more cringe-worthy moments like, kissing his butt and everything. But, take the good with the bad. And then, of course, the man himself, Mr. Jim Carrey. This is one of his best performances. It really is. It's so madcap and zany, and the manic energy he brings to this role, especially when you consider that it took more than half a day to get him into the wardrobe for every day of shooting. Like, that's just exhausting in and of itself, and yet he still brought it every single scene. Some of the jokes land better than others. I still laugh at him missing a taxi and going, "Because I'm green, isn't it?" That's a great political joke. He even made Christine Baranski seem hot at 48 then, so good for the horniness angle. And of course, I absolutely adore when he puts on the cap like Ron Howard and does an impression. Like, all the ad libs are just so much fun with this. So as a cinematic movie, it's the better version of it because the Illumination one with Benedict Cumberbatch is completely unwatchable garbage. And while the original half-hour cartoon is the best version and adaptation of the story, I'm just going with theatrically released movies here, feature-length stuff. So I think this is the perfect film to kind of bridge the gap there. Number 8. Christmas Vacation. 2 words. Exploding cat. That's all you need. The rest of the movie can go hang sometimes, honestly. There's some great moments, some cringe moments, but all I care about is the fact that freaking cat chews on the wire and gets exploded. I still laugh at this today. This is almost, if I'm doing math right, 30. This movie's over 30 years old. I will never not laugh at that scene. It's impossible not to laugh at that scene. It's like, unless you're like a little kid and actually think a cat died. But like, even if you're like a huge animal rights, like PETA asshole, as an adult, that is just one of the most objectively funny things ever put to celluloid. I'm sorry. It's just too much. It's one of the greatest gags ever done. And it's so simple in its execution. It's just nibble, plug sparks, put the circuit breakers back on, and then see the crater of melted cat. So great. Number 7. A Christmas Story. How can you not? It's a timeless classic. The vignettes are all heartfelt and funny. This is one of the few movies where having a whole bunch of narration is actually good for the story. I think this and Shawshank are pretty much the only ones that, are the exception to that rule of over narration. And really, I love how meaningless the Red Ryder BB gun ultimately ends up being. I mean, obviously not to Ralphie, but it's much more about the relationships and the stories and his vivid imagination and the Ovaltine. The freaking Ovaltine. As someone who has been scammed before, that scene will always feel a bit too real to me. At least in his case, it was fairly innocent, and all he's out is, the money for more Ovaltine. But it's one of those brilliant examples of the harsh realities of life, and I'm sure that bunny suit gave birth to millions of furries everywhere. So congratulations on that, I guess. Number 6, The Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I first saw this movie in the theaters back in '93, I didn't like it all that much. I mean, I love the animation. I love the voice work. I love Danny Elfman's score and everything like that. But I went into that movie not knowing it was a musical, and so I was completely thrown off. Like, mostly because a lot of the songs were shorter and they were, very loosely defined as to what was dialogue versus what was singing. I mean, Jack basically has an operetta for the first half of the film. But the more I watched it, the more I loved it. And this, again, fully realized Tim Burton dreamscape of a world. It's so richly designed. The stop motion is so great. I mean, we don't even get to have Leica Studios without this movie, honestly. I will firmly believe that. Like, Coraline and like Kubo and the Two Strings, those movies do not exist without this as its forebear. And yes, this is Tim Burton's world, even though Henry Selick directed it. The guy does not get proper credit. But the more I watch it, the more I love it. The songs keep growing on me more and more now that I know what I'm in for. And if you ever go to Disneyland during the fall and early winter months, basically from September through the end of the year, they refurbish the Haunted Mansion to fit a Nightmare Before Christmas motif, and it's such a fun ride because you got Oogie Boogie in there, you got Zero floating along with you on the track, and there's so many good Easter eggs and references to the movie in there that it adds a new dimension to the ride that makes it so much more fun. So yeah, like, I was surprised that it was a musical when I first saw it, and therefore didn't appreciate it for what it was. And then as I got older and watched it more and more, I was like, this is an absolute masterpiece. Moving into the top 5. Home Alone. Oh, Home Alone. This is really the only Home Alone movie you need. And Lost in New York has its moments, certainly, but it's basically a cut and paste of this movie, just in a different setting. And you dock several points for Donald Trump's presence there, but you also gain so much more for Tim Curry's. But this is the original, still the best, still so completely bonkers with all the physical comedy and all the traps. It really is psychotic what this kid puts together, and you have to suspend your disbelief like you're hanging Christmas lights on this, because it's impossible for him to have set all this up in the span of like an hour. But you don't care. You're just along for the ride the whole time, and it's so much fun. Kind of like reinforcing the love of family when they're not there. Catherine O'Hara and John Hurd are so great as the parents, and of course Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern as the wet bandits. You couldn't have made better baddies in any kids movie, family movie. It's just so great. And it's one of the things that the sequels really didn't properly realize. They just kind of went back to the kid beats up old people well, and for some reason in the most recent one that came out this year, they made him British. Yet still in Chicago. I don't know, but none of that tarnishes the reputation of the original. And if nothing else, I want them to actually make Angels with Filthy Souls. I think that would be a good movie. I'm just saying, I think it would actually be pretty cool. Number 4, 8-Bit Christmas. Oh yeah, it just came out last month, and I'm putting it at number 4. This is a spiritual successor to A Christmas Story that one-ups the elements pretty much the entire way. Everything from the first movie is given that extra bit of oomph that really sells it. Though they don't really do the daydreaming that Ralphie did in his movie, so that's kind of where the two are separated. But I mentioned this in Not Yet Watchable and in the review. When I was a kid, my favorite Christmas gift was my Nintendo. I got it when I was 6 years old in 1988 when this movie takes place. And it was the most precious thing to me because it was the culmination of all that wishing and hoping and knowing it was impossible to get this thing. We didn't have the money. My mom didn't make that much. My grandmother was, if she was still working at that time, she was near her forced retirement due to her health issues. We were not well off. Like our one luxury was cable TV. Like that was it. So I knew that a Nintendo was impossible. I knew I was never going to get one. But I wished and I wished and I wished, and there it was. I got up at like 4 a.m. Christmas morning just to sneak a peek, just to look at all the presents under the tree like I always did because I couldn't sleep. And there it was, right under the tree. Not even wrapped, just a little sticker that said, to Billy from me, meaning Santa Claus, with a picture of Santa on there. And I just started sobbing. My jaw just dropped. Like I didn't think it was possible. It was the moment that I truly believed in Santa Claus. It was everything to me. And then of course, years later, I learned that my grandmother bought it. This was when I got the talk about how Santa wasn't real and everything like that. I learned that my grandmother bought it. She basically cut down on her smoking enough to basically not buy about 4 cartons of cigarettes in order to afford the $100 for the thing. And that was a lot back in the 80s, especially for someone who smoked 2 to 3 packs a day. So again, just like with Christmas Story, it reinforces how far people are willing to go for the people they love. And that's what it really meant to me. Now, as far as the movie goes, it captures that nostalgia and that desire absolutely perfectly. The exaggerated jokes are so over the top fun, especially like the minefield of dog poo and the bully who's easily in his mid-20s. A lot of that stuff really works well. And you couldn't have picked a better actor to play the dad telling this story than Neil Patrick Harris. I've seen this with my own eyes. I worked with him a few years ago on a game show called Genius Junior, and saw firsthand how great he is with kids and how much he just loves being a dad. This is probably the most perfect casting you could have possibly had. And since he was a child actor himself in the 80s, it kind of creates this credible image in our minds of maybe this is what Doogie Howser grown up would be teaching his kids. You don't know. Very few could ever pull that off. So yeah, like this movie is just a silly little lark, but it really hit me in all the right spaces to basically like, yeah, this is going to be one that I watch year in and year out from, till the end of my days. And I can't wait for, 40 years from now, assuming I live that long, where we get basically the 3rd generation Christmas Story to see what someone in 2060 will be telling their kid about what they desperately wanted in 2021, which will probably be something really stupid like a TikTok fame or a fidget spinner or whatever the devil it is these children are playing with. Moving on. Podium time. Number 3. Gremlins. I love Gizmo. Nothing else for it. I love Gizmo. He is the most adorable goddamn thing. And seeing his innocence contrasted with the antics of the fully mutated gremlins. Seriously, how hard is it to not feed someone after midnight? I say this as an overweight man. It's just so freaking. It just grabs me, tugs on the heartstrings and warms the cockles, and then allows me to also laugh at all the silliness. I was never scared of the Gremlins, even though this first movie is meant to be a little bit scarier than the second one. New Batch is just pure slapstick. But yeah, I was never scared by the Gremlins. I thought they were silly and fun, and the remotely insecure ones, I just wanted to cuddle Gizmo. That's about as close as I ever got to being scared. So yeah, and I mean, what can I say? I just love it. I just love Gizmo. He's just so goddamn pure. Moving on, silver medal number 2 goes to Die Hard. Oh yeah, please. Tell me again how it's not a Christmas movie. Please keep telling me. Tell me it gives me strength. It fuels me. This is the greatest action movie of all time. It's got a damn near perfect cast. The stunts are amazing. Hans Gruber is one of the greatest villains of all cinema, and Alan Rickman plays him absolutely perfectly. We get Reginald VelJohnson shooting a kid and solidifying his typecast as a cop. Bruce Willis, when he still had hair. Bonnie Bedelia. Now I have a machine gun. Her. That's my bad Alan Rickman impression. The line readings are just so freaking perfect. I mean, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker! And like, there's not a single element that fails to land on this thing. I mean, the helicopter fails to land, I think, but but that's kind of the point. I mean, I still giggle to this day about Big Johnson and Little Johnson because I am 12, going on 40. Honestly, you know, nearly 35 years later, there's only one thing truly wrong with this movie, and that's that it reminds us that there was once a day where you could get gasoline for less than $1 in Los Angeles. Not today. And finally, number 1, if you've ever read my stuff, you almost certainly should know what this is. This should come as a surprise to no one. My favorite Christmas movie of all time. It's a Wonderful Life. I watch this every year, and I cry every year. No matter how hard I try, no matter how much I know it's coming, the moment Harry lifts the glass to my big brother George, the richest man in town, down. I am just down, sobbing like an infant. This movie is 75 years old. And with each passing year, it becomes more and more important and resonant, especially in late-stage capitalism, where the Henry F. Potters of the world have become the norm. And good, hardworking people who keep getting screwed over, like George Bailey, don't get their miracles. They don't get those reminders about all the good things in their lives, and they don't get to see what life would be like without them, what the world would be like if they had never been born. In a weird way, it makes me wish that the supernatural religious elements in this film were wholly true, so that at least once a year, some poor sap could actually get that perspective. This is a movie that never fails to show me something new. And we're talking about a movie that it's not just my favorite Christmas movie, it's one of my favorites of all time. I think it's number 3 all time for me, just behind Full Metal Jacket and Blazing Saddles. It's sweet, it's funny, it's inspirational, it's produced really well, and the performances are just note perfect. Lionel Barrymore, Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed. I mean, every scene just feels so real, even though it's so long ago. Like it still applies today. Young love, setbacks, tragedy, the number of times you want to strangle Uncle Billy for forgetting stuff. Every year, I just want to jump into the TV and just rip that newspaper out of Potter's lap and give him back the money so that none of this ever happens. It just feels so real to every time I watch it. It's honestly at times hard to put into words. There are movies that are truly special, and this is one of them. And it also led to probably the most meaningful gift I've ever gotten in my life. I mean, like I said, the Nintendo was my favorite one as a kid because it was the culmination of all the wishing. But a few years ago, my brother-in-law went to Seneca Falls, New York, which is near where he and my sister live, because that's one of the towns that Bedford Falls is based on. And they do an annual Bedford Falls celebration of the movie. So he got me a copy of the screenplay and had it signed by the actress who played Zuzu. I have my own personal set of Zuzu's pedals as far as I'm concerned. And she wrote one of the sweetest notes in there that I've ever seen, basically telling me to keep working and keep dreaming, and then one day I would write something even better than this. And this came to me at a point where I was feeling really low as a person, as a creative. My career was not going anywhere near where I wanted to go, and I felt stymied. It hit me at just the right moment. And again, it's in the same way as the Nintendo was when I was a kid. It's that testament to just how far the people who love you will go for that instant of happiness and joy. To see you truly appreciate something, it's one of the greatest feelings you can ever experience, both as a recipient and as a giver. And it just reinforced how lucky I am to have a family that loves me unconditionally. And a lot of times I need to remind myself of that. And I'm sure a lot of you do as well. So yeah, whether it's on NBC on Christmas Eve or I'm just watching it on a DVD or whatever, it's like every time. Tear. And there you have it, my top 12 Christmas movies of all time. I hope you enjoyed the list. I hope it brought back some good memories, if nothing else. And please, let me know in the comments below what your favorite Christmas movies are, even if it is Elf. As always, keep it locked on actuallypaid.com for all my reviews and features. And I look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. If nothing else, I hope you and yours are having a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a Kwezi Kwanzaa, a Tip-Top Tet, and a solemn, dignified Ramadan. I'm Bill Hammond. I actually paid to see this.